simultaneous to promote innovation. Doctor, am I audible?
Thank you so much.
Yes, you can proceed now.
All right, and are we recording this?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, I've just put in the text chat that if people can hear me all right, if you could do a thumbs up in the text chat, please, because that way I can see that people are able to hear and see the screen. So we're not going to do screen share with my slides. Instead, if you could do the full screen with me, I'm going to be standing here looking through the presentation. Can you pin me as the full screen? The organizers?
Yes.
Okay. So if you make my video full screen, we're not doing the PowerPoint. So I'll be pinned as the large video, please.
Yes. Just a minute.
Okay. And if anyone else can hear, please do feel free to put the thumbs up on there.
Okay. Is it okay, Doctor?
I'm still showing it as just a small video of me along with the other videos. You should be able to make me the large screen video.
This will be enough, Doctor. We can't do
Spotlight. Is it spotlight on?
Yeah, isn't it spotlight? If you select me.
Sorry?
Let me see if I can spotlight myself. Pin.
Yes. Please try.
Okay, pin. There we go. All right, I thought you had to do it, but am I on the large screen now? I believe I should be a large video now to you, below all the names. Is that right? Hopefully that's what you're seeing. All right, let me get started then. You should be able to see my screen here, and my colleague is in the video as well. This is Louise Morel, who worked with me on this project. We're doing a little bit of an experiment with this talk today because we're not just talking about the technology, we're also using it. So if this video looks a little bit strange, it's because we are using a 360 video camera, and possibly when we're finished, the recording of this might be an augmented reality video where you can click on it and drag it around. We'll give it a go and see if we can get that to work. Otherwise, it will be on my website at https://abasel.uk. All right, so why don't we get going? Our presentation was looking at using online learning simulations for healthcare for the nurses at our university. Louise and I worked with the computing students as well on usability, user experience design. So we're going to give you a little context, a little background about that, tell you how we did our methodology, and then briefly give you some conclusions, and hopefully you'll have some questions at the end. So our question was, can we impact on the confidence level of the nurses when they are using the simulations? So that was the focus of what we wanted to get data about, because of the way we did this was to explore the learning technology design. Now, we had a small sample group for this case study because we did this in conjunction with a few of the courses, the university courses, the modules at our university. So the nurses in the healthcare group, they were invited to come and, through Microsoft Teams, use the online learning simulation. And our group of computing students worked with the nurses into 3 groups of 10. So we had small, compact groups, but we were trying to get a lot of detailed user experience data from them. So what kind of data did we do? Well, we had the students in the classroom doing face-to-face discussions, and they were going through the various user experience testing procedures that we do in computing in order to be able to assess the design and usability of the learning simulation. This in computing is what we refer to like as the pain points. Where is the system? Where is that learning simulation not working? So we used a variety of techniques. One of the techniques that we used is called a mind map. And in this diagram that you can see here, we have the students brainstorm all the different possibilities, all of the different elements, the people, the technology, the things, the systems, anything you can think about, they were using in this mind map. So that was part of the user experience design. We also did a little bit of what we call commercial research or market research. So along with the academic research of, say, doing desk research for literature review, they also went out to take a look to see what is the competition doing. Besides the software simulation that we used, what other companies are using learning simulations in healthcare, and how are they designing the interface and getting the students involved and building their knowledge and skills and confidence in that particular healthcare issue. So part of the methodology, as well as the case study that we've been doing, is what we call a 5-part user experience sprint. And in this, you can see that we start off with an awareness, trying to find out what the user needs are. What do the nurses expect going into using the online learning simulation? Some of them had never used a simulation before. Some of them had a little bit of experience. Then we identify what we call that pain point. What is it in that system which does not work well in order to meet the expectations of those nurses, of the users? Then we go through and we do a bit of training. And this is where we are collecting data from the nurses, from the users, in order to be able to assess what those expectations are and how we are able to design an intervention, which we call a prototype. Now, the prototype is a mock-up of the real live learning simulation. And in that way, the nurses, the people using the simulation, have a chance to see the changes that our computing students have done in order to assess whether or not those changes are impacting on the confidence level of the students. And so here we also are monitoring the way they use the online system, and then how they are coming up with the diagnosis and the treatment in that learning environment. So we used a number of different tools in order to gather data from the nurses. When we started out, as I explained, we used the Microsoft Teams environment to have the nurses go through the simulation, which was in a hospital ward room, and they had the patient with certain pains and ailments that the nurses then had to diagnose. Well, while they were going through the simulation, we were recording everything that was happening. So we had the observation recording. We additionally had, just as we have here in the Zoom, a text chat. So the nurses could post comments or questions into the text chat while the facilitator was going through the simulation. So the facilitator, which was the nursing director, Joelle, she would follow the instructions from the nurses in the simulation to be able to use the various tools in that ward room. And as they were being used, we were having the recording and the text conversation. But additionally, the computing students did some surveys afterwards. They did some online surveys with the nurses to collect additional data about their experience and to help steer their actions into making these improvements on what we call the pain points. So what we did at the end of this is we had the UX students, the computing students, actually do a presentation of their analysis, but it wasn't just an academic presentation. We invited real world industry experts. So Louise was sitting there in the panel, along with a few people from our local user experience businesses. And what they did is they presented the various simulations. And here you can see one of the interventions was to make a change in the readouts that they had for that particular patient, because originally it was in one location and they said they weren't able to see it. So they put it in a new location. And during the presentation, the experts grilled them. They asked them difficult questions to justify the different decisions that they made. So to finish off here, one of the other tools that we've done is to use this 360 camera that we're using right now for my presentation in a debriefing session with students. So instead of sitting in rows or having flat screens like we have in Zoom right now, we put the 360 camera in the center of a circle discussion. And in that way, it captures not just the speaker, but everyone in that circle, their faces, their expressions, their body language. And as they're going through debriefing, talking about their experience with the simulation, all of that is captured. That's referred to as a Socratic discussion circle. And this is an intervention, a design, a learning design that we are continuing to research and explore. But that's not all. The future is very exciting because one of the universities that we're working with is Bournemouth University. And here you can see not just a camera in the middle of a circle, but the person in the middle of a room that has projectors showing all of the components that would be in a hospital ward. So all of the technology, all of the resources, if it was x-rays, you could press on the wall and that x-ray comes up. If it was the patient's history, you press on the filing cabinet and the text comes up. And it makes this very interactive. It's 3D, it's immersive. You're in the middle of the room. And they are also exploring using that space as a debriefing space. So after the simulations are being done, whether they're online simulations or face-to-face simulations using the mannequins, they will go into this space and use that as a place to be able to relax a little bit and talk about the experience they had. One of the videos that they're using is a fish tank. So you sit inside the fish tank with the fish swimming around, and it makes you very calm. So if it was a life-threatening simulation that you went through, you might have high anxiety. Sitting in that space makes it much more calming, and they're exploring the use of this type of 3D immersive space as well. I think I'm almost out of time. So here you can see some references that will be available on the PowerPoint slides that our students came up with as part of their assessment and their project presentations, which we mentioned. And just to finish off, we want to say thank you. Please visit my website at abasiel.uk, where you can see some of the 3D and immersive augmented reality videos that we have. And we would like to invite any of you that are interested in following up on this to do further case studies, to please contact me at abasiel@gmail.com. We're interested in collaborating with people that are excited about this type of technology and the future of using learning simulations and using augmented reality. Thanks very much. I think that's it for me, and we can do questions either by text chat or by audio. So feel free to put your microphones on. Otherwise, we do have Louise here who can, if nobody asks a question, see, I'm prepared to plant a question in the talk if nobody has a question. But feel free to put your video on, your microphone on, or pop a question in the text chat for us, please. Thank you. All right, so no questions from Shegwar or Kiran or Professor Gizem? No questions at all, no comments? So Louise, how about you? Do you have any observations or questions or comments that you'd like to share with us?
Yes, I do have a question. And I'm still really excited about this 3D space in Bournemouth University.
Okay.
And do you know if there actually is spatial audio in there?
Okay, that's a very good question because audio is really powerful.
Yeah.
And for example, I remember one time when I was at Disney World.
Yeah.
Okay, and they put it was an animation and a video production exhibition, and they put earphones on me.
Yeah.
And the earphones were playing the sound of someone giving me a haircut. Okay, so I heard the scissors cutting my hair, right? Nobody was there, just the earphones. But then they took the blow dryer to get the hair off my shoulders and my neck, and I swear I felt wind. It was so realistic.
Yeah.
So your question about this immersive space and the use of audio is really valuable because it can be exploited a lot. And I don't believe at this point that is the focus of the research. They're looking at it on the visual side because each of the walls will have interactive buttons on the wall.
Sure.
But there are speakers. It is surround sound, and that could be a really interesting element to include.
Yeah.
If you were in an emergency situation, and we had a mannequin here on the floor, and you heard a sound to the right of you, like a child crying or something. Oh, are you going to react to that sound of the baby, or what do you do? Do you ignore it? Do you just treat that person? You know, how severe are their injuries? You know, if it's life-threatening and they're going to bleed to death or suffocate in 1 minute, do you stay with them, or do you go and try to find the baby?
Yeah.
So
Just
yeah,
that extra
there's
element.
such powerful
Yeah.
opportunities in any of these simulations that we're talking about, and in terms of using the augmented reality to capture it and then review it, and for the debriefing, help to build the confidence of the nurses or the stakeholders, you know, that are involved. Good question, thank you. How about anybody else online? No, it's a quiet group here. Organizers, do you have any questions?
No pressure.
All right, I guess that means that we'll finish with that and say thank you very much. And hopefully it was interesting to not just talk about the technology, but to see this in the 360 video as well. Okay, thank you very much. And I'm going to remove my pin.